Okay, everybody got a couple of sheets of paper, pen? There's gonna be a quiz. No. Honestly, this is just a couple of different reasons.
Give me a pen.
Take notes on there if you have any questions. We will answer any question. If I don't know the answer, Nathan does. And, no, we'll find it. So yeah, just a brief introduction. I'm Jeff Scott. It's good to be back with you guys. This is my son Nathan. He's the newest member of the team, another financial advisor. And if anything happens to me, he's the man. So I do not miss the meetings. Politics, bureaucracy, but I do miss you guys. So it's good to be back. This kind of gives me the perfect opportunity to still stay in touch with people that I've met all over the state. And keep those relationships and hopefully help in some small way get you just a little tiny bit more money in your account when you retire and maybe get you there with a little less worry. That's kind of our focus. So Mill Canyon Financial is who we are. The name Canyon comes from our family cabin. That was my dad's, I guess I ought to take this up, man. So the name comes from where our family cabin is. That was my dad's retirement dream and what he wanted to do. And so as we were kind of rebranding, I talked to my mom and said, hey, you okay with this? And she said, yeah, that'd be great. And so that's kind of where we come from. We don't know what somebody's dream is until we talk to them. Once we find that out, we want to put together a plan in conjunction with them to help them reach that. So I've been doing this for about 31 years. Didn't take a sabbatical while I was on the commission, but I definitely wasn't doing this full time. And so it's good to be able to be back and be a little bit more focused on that. So the two niches or the two areas that we really focus on are qualified retirement plans and income planning. How many of you are familiar with income planning? It's kind of interesting because the entire time that you're working, you're in the accumulation phase. So you're trying to accumulate enough assets so that when you retire, you can have the lifestyle that you want to enjoy. But the day that you retire, it completely flip-flops. You go from accumulating those assets to spending them. And I don't know what kind of retirement you want to have, but the one that I want to have is going to cost some serious coin because all the stuff I want to do costs money and I'm not making money anymore. And so that's another thing that we do is we help people make that transition so that they have enough income that they can enjoy the type of retirement that they want to. So one of the ways that we do that is we have the ability to manage assets inside of the Utah Retirement Systems Plan. It's something that's very unique. I purposely and intentionally stayed away from this while I was in office. I did not want somebody to come in and say, hey, that's a conflict of interest. You're using your position. So I waited until I was out. How many of you know the name of the option inside of the Utah Retirement Systems Plan that allows you to invest the money anywhere you want to? Does anybody know what that's called? There are treats. He's going to throw them at you. You even get to choose which one. Do one of you two ladies know? You guys have got to know this. The name of the account inside of Utah Retirement Systems that lets you direct anywhere to place your money. You can invest.
The contribution.
Uh-huh.
The contributionary. Let me see. Deferral contribution.
You're right there. You're close. How many of you have heard of the Schwab PCRA account? One hand. Anybody know what PCRA stands for? The questions do get easier in a minute. So it stands for Personal Choice Retirement Account. And that's literally what it is. It allows you to make a choice that's for you to put your money anywhere you want to. The biggest problem is most people don't know that it's available. The second biggest problem is, where do I put the money even if I know that that is available? Do you know how many different investment options there are just in the Utah Retirement Systems core accounts?
7.
Oh, he's close. I think that's close.
It's close, that'll be it.
Okay, so there's 8 core, and then there are another 13 target date funds. And inside those 13 target date funds, you pick up 3 additional choices. There's a couple of different bond funds, and there's a real estate fund. Marcus, he can probably catch.
No, you can't.
Nice.
Did it.
So inside of Utah Retirement Systems, you literally only have 8 choices, and then you pick up 3 additional inside the target date. So that only gives you really 11 different options that are kind of mixed and matched. It's not bad, but we strongly believe that with more choices gives you more opportunity and the ability to really tailor something to your own particular needs and what you want to accomplish. Now, the part of Utah Retirement Systems I'm talking about is the defined contribution, not the defined benefit. So the pension portion, we don't touch. That stays inside there. You accumulate years of service. You get paid out based on your highest. That's how that works. We don't touch that. That is 100% done through the state. This is money that may have been contributed by the county on your behalf that goes into the 401k, or money that you've directed there just as a deferral, or if you've put money into the 457. And this can be money that's either pre-tax, or if you've chosen to do it as a Roth contribution, that can be managed as well. So, how many different types of portfolios do you think we're able to offer through the Navigator platform?
Thousands.
But thanks for the confidence. That would confuse even me. We have 347 different portfolios, 27 by fund strategist managers, and then we have 63 that are separate account. And the cool thing about that is each one of these has a different investment objective and a different portfolio manager that's been specifically chosen based on their expertise in that area. And so we can mix and match those. And the cool thing about that is we monitor those accounts, and then the investment advisory firm also monitors those. And so you're getting kind of double duty on these accounts. Our goal is to be boring, but predictable. So if you're looking at it as a baseball analogy, we want to be hitting singles and doubles. Very, very rarely we might hit a triple. Probably never going to hit a home run, not one time. But our big thing is we don't want to strike out. We don't want to be in a position where we have to come back and apologize and say, hey, sorry your account just dropped 37%, like 2008. We don't want to do that. What happens when you get a really, really big loss in your portfolio? Anybody that's been in the plan for the last 15 or 20 years, you've seen it at least twice.
Well, really, it's just an emotional thing. Unless you're planning on drawing on that right now.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's just an emotional gut punch.
Gut punch? Exactly. Yeah. How do you feel when you get that statement and all of a sudden your 100,000 is now 63,000? It can be pretty brutal. There's something called the sequence of returns. And if you're just starting out, you're in your 20s, and your account drops 37%, you had $1,000 in there, you're down to 630. If you're a year away from retirement and you had 300,000 in there and it drops 37%, you're down to less than 200,000. And so the sequence of returns makes a huge difference. And so as people get closer to retirement, we help them shift their portfolios to protect against those catastrophic losses, because you just simply don't have the time to make it back up. This is kind of fun. I think it is, but I'm a numbers geek. If you have a 5% loss, how big of a gain do you have to get to make up for a 5% loss? Get ready with the candy bars.
Double the loss.
Double? 10%? Okay. What do you think? If you're at 10,000, you lose 5%, you're at 9,500. How much do you have to gain to get back to 10,000? $500. So it amounts to 5.3%. Not much. Now what happens if you get a 10% loss? This is where it starts to get a little bit brutal. $11.1%. If you get a 20% loss, you drop from 100,000 to 80,000. What do you have to get back up to 100? 25. Throw that man a candy bar.
I'll let you decide. So many types that I might get.
30% loss? %40 loss? Okay, this one, somebody has to answer. I'm not going to give you the answer.
100.
Who said 100? Okay. Can you believe that?
This time? Hit me in the face.
Okay, here's a question. Have we actually experienced a 50% loss in the market? We actually did. It happened between 2000 and 2002, and then it happened again from October of 2007 through March of 2009. So we've actually had it happen twice in the last 23 years. You literally have to double the gain to get back to where you started. What happens if you can miss some of those really, really bad losses?
You're not climbing out of the hole.
Exactly. So one of my favorite sports analogies is if you don't get behind, you don't have to catch up. And so that's our big philosophy. We want to get decent returns that can help people retire, but we don't want to take undue or unnecessary risk that we have to make up down the road. I started looking at mine real seriously a year or two ago. I realized I wasn't 20, 25, 30 years away from retirement anymore. I can literally start dipping into my retirement funds in 4.5 years. I can go on Medicare in 10 years. I can get full Social Security benefits in 12 years. So sometime between 5 and 12 years from now, whenever he gets tired of me and kicks me out the door, I've got to start taking this money. And I realized that I needed to relook my own portfolio and tweak it so I wasn't taking undue risk with my own money so I can eventually retire. And it really, really hit home as I started, looking more at these numbers from a personal standpoint. Okay. How many of you know how much the market dropped last year? And by the market, I mean the S&P 500. Like the 500 biggest companies in the United States. How much did they lose last year, percentage-wise?
22%.
That's close. That's close. Anybody else? Nobody wants sugar this morning? Who said 20? Jeez. He's going to be all sugared up. We'd better give that to him. That's pretty close.
Give me all the sugar.
He just went prices right on you. So it was 19.2%. So looking at the chart, you've lost 19.2%. How much do you have to get just to get back to where you were before 2022 started? Just under 25%. You got to get about 24% to make that up. How many of you are familiar with the large cap growth fund inside of Utah Retirement Systems? It is a phenomenal account. It's managed by a company called Jennison. Been around for a long time. Great, great manager. So before 2022, This is through 2021. Their 3-year average was 33.77%, and their 5-year average was 25.87%. I mean, that's pretty amazing. How many of you know the rule of 72? Okay, what's the rule of 72?
Take your interest rate divided by 72, that's how many years you'll take to double your money.
Okay, I need to have you come up here and, so we're just gonna do this in the middle. Okay, so that returned 33%. 33% into 72. It's pretty dang good. You're around like 2.3, 2.4. So if it continued to run at that pace, your money would double inside of that large cap growth fund every 2 to 2.5 years. Even at the 5-year average, it was running at 25. It's going to double almost every 3 years. I mean, amazing. You run that out 20 years at that pace, you're going to be doubling your money 6 times. If you had $50,000 in there, I mean, 100, 2, 4, 8, 1.6. I mean, it was crazy. The problem is, during 2022, do you know how much the large cap growth fund lost? The S&P 500 was down 19.2%. It was down 38.93% in 1 year. So it was down exactly twice what the S&P 500 was. You're approaching 40% loss there. You've got to get about a 60, 62% return to make it back. So what that did was it took the 3-year average from 33.77% down to 3.39, and the 5-year average dropped from 25.8 clear down to 7.69. So even though it had just these absolutely stellar years for several years in a row, that one bad year completely wiped it out. And so it's a great fund, but they took undue risk that year, and it hurt big time. Anybody that was in there is still underwater from 2022. It's come back some this year, but they're not anywhere close to where they were at the beginning of 2022. And so again, those are the kind of things that we really look to avoid and try to lose. Do you know how many times the market has experienced double-digit losses in the last 23 years? So we're talking 2000 through 2023. Wow. Give that man a candy bar. That is 5. What years? Yeah, you guys pay attention. So it was 2000, 2001, 2002, 2008, and 2022. So over that time frame, during the last 23 years, the S&P 500 had averaged 4.23%. That's it. Right now, we have a money market account that's paying 4.54%. It's paying more than the S&P 500 has averaged for the last 23 years. The interesting thing is, if you take those 5 bad years out, that it lost double digits, it takes the S&P 500 return from 4.23% to 13.2%. Just those 5 bad years. Now, we're not saying that we're going to miss all of those years, but if we can minimize them and take them from a double-digit loss to a single digit so that we're not trying to play catch up, that makes all the difference in somebody's portfolio. And so that's really what we try to emphasize. The way that we're able to do that is we offer more choices to make that happen. If I'm going to look for a new vehicle, I don't want to look at a lot and say, okay, here's your 8 choices. You got 1 SUV, you got 1 light truck, you got 1 compact, 1 mid-sized, and I have to choose from those. I want to be able to choose from 8, 10, 15, 20 of each of those for the color I like, for the trim I like, for the package I like, and be able to get that. And so that's what we're able to offer with all these different managers and the different portfolios that they offer. how many of you have a hard time choosing amongst the 8 core funds, the 13 target date funds, and the 3 additional funds right now? I mean, for a lot of us, we look at those and we're like, geez, that's information overload. Well, how would it be to choose from 370 plus? I mean, that could potentially be even worse. And that's where we come in. That's what that one form is. If you are interested in looking at this, what we do is we put together a customized portfolio for you. Because we don't know what your risk tolerance is, what your investment goals are, or your time horizon until we're told. Once we know that, then we can put together a customized portfolio, show it to you, see if it works. If it does, we go from there. And so that's what that allows us to do. The other sheet is simply some of the other services that we offer. We kind of have a niche in the qualified retirement plans and the income planning, but we do it all. We want to be holistic, and so when we sit down with somebody, we want to make sure that whatever they're doing is working together. So we'll look at Social Security planning. We'll look at when you can start taking it, earliest age 62, typically 67 for most of us, 70 is the latest. And we'll look, what age should I take it? Should I take it based on my income? Should I take it based on my spouse's? How much am I going to have coming in from the URS pension? And then what is the difference I need to make up? And then we can help look and say, okay, with what you have in other assets, it's going to make up the difference. No, it's not. You may need to do a little bit extra here. And so that's the kind of things that we do. We want to make sure that everybody enjoys their retirement and has enough to have the lifestyle that they have worked their entire life to enjoy. The company that we use for this is a company called Absolute Capital. They started back in 2002. They're based out of Pittsburgh. And this is what they do. They specialize in managing assets inside of workplace retirement plans. And that's it. I mean, that's kind of us in a nutshell and what we do. We just wanted to introduce this. Well, we get a lot of questions. The most commonly asked question that I get is, do you have your own money in it? And I absolutely do. I have a statement up here I can show you. When I left the county, I left my 401k in Utah Retirement Systems in the Schwab PCRA account managed by Absolute Capital. With the thousands of different investments that I have access to as a financial advisor through my firm, Absolute Capital is one of the premier, and it's one of the few places that I can actually get some of the portfolios that they offer. And so I left it here so I would have access to that. And extremely pleased with what they've done and the way that they've done it. And so, yeah, I actually left my money there and put it right where I'm recommending. And that's it. So, any questions? We went over a lot of stuff really quick, but we wanted to leave some time for any questions that somebody might have. Wow. Just early?
Do
Diane?
you really think that Social Security is going to be around much longer?
How much time do we have? I do. I'm not as pessimistic as some. They have to do something because it's a promise, and we've contributed to it through our payroll, our 7.65, and then what the employer puts in. So it will be there. They're going to have to do some major revamping. In my opinion, what they need to do is they need to privatize it. Anybody that's within 10 to 15 years stays on the old system and nothing changes, and then ladder it. And the further out that you get, eventually it's completely privatized. So you get somebody that's into the workforce just starting, theirs is 100% privatized. And it just goes into an account under their name. Social Security doesn't have anything to do with it. And it's like a nationalized almost 401k. And even if they did 90% of it that way and then just took 10% and put it into the overall fund to kind of help the other people that are closer, but they won't ever do it because it's kind of that untouchable thing that's going to keep them from getting reelected. And I hate to say that, but yeah, I think it'll be there. It's supposed to go broke in the year 2030. the latest projection that I heard. Coincidentally, that's the first year I'm eligible to take it. So. Yeah. Good question. Any other questions?
So from a fee perspective, how does the Schwab PCRA work versus the limited fund within URS?
Great question. So I'm going to give you a political answer because that's what I do. So this is my statement. And this is one of the funds that I'm in. So let's see, this is through, that's through March. I think I had one that was through September. Yeah, so this one's through September. And so far this account is up. Its 3-year average is 14.3, and over about the last 5 years it's sitting at 15.8. So that one would be a replacement for the large cap growth. And so almost quintuple the return over 3 years and twice the return over 5 after fees and expenses.
Okay.
So I'm not a big fan of fees and expenses, but I will pay them if it justifies what I'm getting out of it. I don't do my own mechanic work because I'm not skilled enough, and all I do is get bloody knuckles and say bad words, and so I'll pay somebody to do that, and it's worth it for me. The same reason I don't do my own dental work. I don't have the aptitude or the skills, so I'll pay a dentist to do it. And if these guys can do this kind of return with less risk, I always look at that net of fees, so that's a great question. If I can't get equal or better rate of return or less risk for the same price, why? So, yeah, and that's an individualized example. That is my actual portfolio that I'm in. So, yep, good question. You guys are bound and determined to get out of here by 9 o'clock, aren't you? Any other questions? Okay. Well, thanks for letting me come back. It's nice to see everybody. If you are going to be down at any of the UAC meetings, we'll be down there in St. George. We were down in Salt Lake in April, and so we've enjoyed that. Still having the association with the county, and especially here locally. We're able to do work with anybody that's an employee of a city, county, state government, or any of the school districts. And so it's been great to be able to help and to give back and hopefully help people retire. So if you do have any interest in getting a customized portfolio, there's no obligation. We send this in, get the portfolio from the system, and then show it to you, and you can go from there. So thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Jeffrey.
Thanks, Jesse.
See you.